Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the Ives FBPART.1018. This is a rod only for their FB30 and FB50 series flush bolts. Yes, this is a video on a rod only. It's nice to be able to see what it looks like if that's really all you're after, and this video won't provide too much other than that. What's nice to know is its overall length. It is 8 3/4, and that's what the manufacturer says. I can tell you that it's 1/4 I know that absolutely. I put a nut on that yesterday. The length of the I'm going to go with the component that goes to the body itself is threaded to about 2 inch. The opposite end, it's about a 1/2 inch maybe? Yeah, so 7/16. And again, a piece of threaded rod. It's not unusual to buy it is unusual to buy the rod only, but it's not unusual to need them in the sense that they do get damaged. Someone forces the door open, they'll break the bolt, they might break the reinforcement and bend the rod, but the bolt body itself is generally intact. It's the rod that's taking all of the abuse, unless it's a substantial incident where the door is bent. The hardware can get damaged, obviously. So let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at what supporting information I do have. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Here is our item in the website. Let's take a closer look at some images that I have of the unit. There's the packaging, the rod itself, the short end, the longer end. Now what's very, very interesting is that this rod has an unusual background, and I'll tell you everything I can think of about that. And that is, I've got a client that we've been supplying FB30s to for a very long time, FB30Ps. And those flush bolts have been getting to the client with fully threaded rod. And I spoke to Ives very recently. It's the second quarter of 2023. I spoke to them in March of 2023, where they did indeed tell me that that is indeed the case, that they were all being sent out as fully threaded. Now, that's very strange because the rod that I have here in these images is anything but fully threaded. And we've been supplying this client with the material, the flush bolts, for years now. The last batch they got had the rods as you're seeing it here, not fully threaded. And that caused a disturbance because the client's design is based on the rod being fully threaded. Now that's just a piece of 1/4 threaded rod is really all it is, but it's the special length, 8 3/4, and the client certainly does not want to have to cut or trim everything to make their project work, and nor frankly should they have to do any of that work. So we've reached out to the manufacturer, who has indeed told us, they told me it has been fully threaded for many, many years. And that is interesting because this is the replacement rod that they have sent us. And I have images of proof of the fully threaded rod here. This is what the client has historically received. The last batch did not have those. Now, the fact that it's this zinc dichromate would tell me that it's coming from Ives directly. But again, the last batch that the client just got from us was this non-fully threaded rod. So right now, at the time of making this video, I can't tell you if it's going to be fully threaded rod or if it's not. Historically, it's never been fully threaded rod. I've never seen a flush bolt from the factory with a fully threaded rod. Now, we do it all the time if a client wants to do an 18-inch or a 24-inch flush bolt, and we're just going to use 1/4-20, what people will call all thread. We'd call it threaded rod. They cut it to length and be done with it. So very interesting that what I was just shipped is this item right here. Now, there is a link below this video as seen here to the manufacturer's page, and everything else that's here we've covered. Link to the manufacturer's page is here, and when that page loads, you can view not only all of the Ives products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Now, this item is... So what we can do in the catalog is take a look at the 30 and 50 series flush bolts that this is being used with. FB30, 31 really. And even the manufacturer's original catalog shows it with an all thread. So there might be a design change, or they might just be packing stuff incorrectly, which the factory acknowledges is always possible. So you've got a P for a pair, T for the top only, and B for the bottom only. That's the 31. We can scroll through and get to the 50 series. 51P for pair, 51T for top. Self-latching, but you can manually retract that. And this would be, well, let's take a study on constant latching flush bolts. Okay, constant latching is going to be the fact that this is going to be always latched unless you manually retract it. When you open the door, the bottom bolt is going to retract. It's going to come up, but the inactive door will stay secured because of the constant latching top. When you pull that trigger down and open the door, you're fine. You've got both doors open. You release them, assuming there are self-closing devices. Your coordinator will then force the inactive to close first. This is constant latched when the door is closed, and then when the active door follows behind it, it will then bolt the bottom down. So that's a constant latching flush bolt versus the FP30 ones that we were looking at earlier, which are just simply called automatic flush bolts, meaning you must push the active door closed against a closed inactive door for the bolts to engage the threshold or the sill, and then the prep and the header. All right. Also on that page, the manufacturer's page, other catalogs, older versions of catalogs are here. Price lists, encyclopedic documents, templates are here as well. Technical manuals here, and then for fun, a couple of really old Ives catalogs. We've got a couple of catalogs that are 120 and 125 years old. If you wanted to see what Ives was making at the turn of the 20th century, there they are. Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you've not hit subscribe yet, we would very much appreciate if you did, and hopefully you're enjoying this video. Now, let's get back to it. Now, in conclusion, we will update something somewhere when we determine if it's not fully threaded or if it is fully threaded. And we'll go from there. You should never really need something that's fully threaded. The only time that you would is if you're making a special length. And flush bolts are measured from the distance from the end of the door to the center line of the prep. So a 12-inch flush bolt is the top of the door or the bottom of the door to the center line of, let's say, the 6 3/4 tall preparation. That rod is not 12-inch long, it's 10-something inch long. That's why there would be a different rod for the FB30 and FB50 series, because where the rod engages the body is in a different height compared to like the FB458 or the old 257, things of that nature. So when I had said earlier we would supply threaded rod or all thread for a client if they wanted to do a 24-inch and we didn't have it around, but we wouldn't give them a 24-inch rod. We would need to figure out what's the dimension from the end of the door, the top of the door really, to the center of that 6 3/4, based on where the flush bolt body itself required the rod to thread into. But it's 1/4-20. So at the end of the day, this client who happens to be in France, if if they just wanted to solve it right then and there, they could get their hands on 1/4 20 12-inch pieces of threaded rod, take a 1/4-inch nut, thread that down, cut it with a hacksaw, back the nut off, you clean the threads in that process, and move on. I'm not advocating they do that at all, but in a pinch, that's really all the factory's supplying at the end of the day. So, any questions on the Ives FBPART.1018 or any other Ives product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.